Relationship. When we look at the life of Prophet Muhammad, one of the most striking qualities we find is his unwavering faith and absolute trust in Allah. Relationship. This trust, what we call Tawakkul, was not passive reliance. It was an active state of the heart, combined with practical effort. That gave him unshakable strength. In the most difficult circumstances, he faced loss, betrayal, war, poverty, and yet relationship. Not once did his heart waver in despair. He trusted that Allah's plan was always superior to his own relationship, and that no hardship could ever overtake him except by Allah's wisdom. What does this mean for us today? Too many of us live with anxiety, relationship, worrying about tomorrow's income, fearing the judgment of people, or being paralyzed by uncertainty about the future. We spend nights awake. Relationship, consumed by thoughts of what if I fail, what if I lose, what if things don't go as planned. Relationship. But the Prophet showed us that when you place your full trust in Allah, you liberate yourself from those chains. You do your best. Relationship. You tie your camel as he taught, but then you surrender the outcome to Allah. That surrender is where true peace begins. Relationship. Psychologists today often speak about control. They say much of human stress comes from trying to control what is outside our control. Relationship. And isn't it amazing that over 1400 years ago, Islam already taught us this balance. You control your effort, your intention, your action. But you cannot control results, outcomes, or destiny. That belongs to Allah. When you internalize this relationship, you protect yourself from despair when things don't go your way. And you protect yourself from arrogance when they do. Relationship. The Prophet embodied this balance. In the cave of Thar, when the Quraysh was standing just outside, relationship. Abu Bakr, Yuazaruduna, was gripped with fear. But the Prophet, with full calmness, whispered, "Do not be sad." Indeed, relationship, Allah is with us. Imagine the psychological strength of a man who could look death in the eye and still radiate reassurance. Relationship. That strength did not come from strategy, from wealth, or from numbers. It came from faith. Tawakkul does not mean neglecting effort. Relationship, it doesn't mean we sit back and wait for provision to fall from the sky. The Prophet planned, he strategized, he worked hard. Relationship. But he never allowed his effort to overshadow his reliance on Allah. This balance is what most of us are missing. Relationship. Some of us plan endlessly but forget Allah. Others claim to rely on Allah but make no effort. Both extremes rob us of peace. Relationship. The Prophet showed us the middle path. Put in your maximum, then release the weight of results into the hands of Allah. A relationship. And here is the liberating truth. Once you understand this, nothing can break you. People's opinions won't crush you, failure won't destroy you. A relationship and success won't intoxicate you because your heart no longer relies on outcomes, it relies on the one who controls them. Relationship. So if you want to live better, start here, trust Allah more than you trust your fears, your plans, or even your own self. Put in the effort. Relationship, then let go. The moment you release control into His hands, you will discover a peace that no circumstance can take away. Relationship. When we talk about living better, we often think of material comfort, stability, or achievements. Relationship. But the Prophet Muhammad reminded us that the true measure of a life well lived is found in character. He said, relationship. The best among you are those who have the best character. Notice how he didn't say the wealthiest, the most knowledgeable, or the most powerful. Relationship, but the ones with the best manners, the purest dealings, the gentlest interactions. Relationship, because good character is not just about politeness. It is the reflection of faith in action. Think about it. Relationship, people don't always remember what you said, but they never forget how you made them feel. Relationship. The Prophet had a way of making even his enemies feel respected. Even those who wronged him felt the weight of his dignity. Relationship, he didn't need to shout, insult, or demean to assert strength. His strength was in his patience, his humility, his mercy. Relationship, this is why he could soften the hardest of hearts, why people who met him could not help but love him. Psychologically, relationship, character is the bridge between belief and behavior. You can claim faith, but if your character is harsh, arrogant, or deceitful, relationship, people will not see your faith in you. It is through kindness, honesty, and humility that your inner belief shines outward. Relationship. That's why the Prophet said he was sent to perfect good character. It was not an optional part of the message. It was the heart of it. Relationship. We live in a time where knowledge is abundant, but good character is scarce. Social media has made it easier than ever to share words of wisdom. Relationship. Yet the same platforms are filled with anger, envy, backbiting, and disrespect. It is not how much Quran you can quote, relationship, or how long your prayer appears that defines your closeness to Allah. It is how you treat the people around you. Do you smile? Do you forgive? Relationship. Do you control your tongue when provoked? These are the real signs of faith. And here's a reality check. Relationship. Good character is not tested in moments of ease. It's tested in moments of pressure. It's easy to be polite when everything is going your way. Relationship. But can you remain gentle when insulted? Can you be generous when you feel wronged? Can you stay calm when provoked? Relationship. That is where true strength is shown. The Prophet said the strong person is not the one who can wrestle others down, relationship, but the one who controls himself in anger. This is psychological mastery, spiritual maturity. Relationship. The beauty of good character is that it transforms not only you, but the world around you. A kind word can lift someone's spirit for an entire day. Relationship. A small act of generosity can ripple into a lifetime of gratitude. And every time you choose patience over anger, mercy over revenge, relationship, humility over pride, you are not only improving your own soul, you are making the world lighter for others. Relationship. So if you truly want to follow the Prophet, start with your character, refine your manners, purify your dealings. Relationship. Treat people with respect regardless of who they are. Because the mark of greatness is not in how high you rise above people. Relationship. But in how gently you deal with them when you're in a position to look down. Relationship. One of the most profound lessons we learn from the life of Prophet Muhammad is the centrality of sincerity. Relationship. At the heart of every action is intention, and without a pure intention, even the most impressive deeds can be empty. Relationship. The Prophet reminded us with those famous words, actions are judged by intentions. Relationship. And every person will have what they intended. Think about that. It's not the size of your action, the applause you receive, relationship, or the recognition you gain. It is what you intended that ultimately matters before Allah. This is liberating when you truly internalize it. Relationship. Because in a world obsessed with image, with followers, with recognition, sincerity frees you from that exhausting cycle. Relationship. You no longer live to impress people, you live to please Allah. You no longer measure success by likes and praise. Relationship. You measure it by whether Allah accepts your effort. And that shift transforms the way you live. But sincerity is not always easy. Relationship. The ego craves attention. The heart sometimes seeks validation. And it's very possible to do a good deed for the wrong reason. Relationship. Even worship itself can become mechanical or driven by culture rather than connection. Relationship. A prayer performed to be seen is not the same as a prayer performed out of love for Allah. Relationship. A charity given for applause does not carry the same weight as a charity given in secret for His sake. Relationship. And this is why the Prophet warned about the hidden form of showing off in worship, because it corrupts what should be the purest act. Relationship. From a psychological perspective, sincerity aligns your outer actions with your inner self. Hypocrisy, on the other hand, relationship, creates an internal split. It drains you because you are living for people's approval while knowing deep down that your intention isn't clean. Relationship. This tension creates anxiety and restlessness. But when your actions and intentions are aligned, when you do something purely for Allah, relationship, there is harmony inside you. That harmony brings peace. Look at how the Prophet embodied sincerity. Even in the smallest actions, whether greeting someone, smiling, relationship, or praying alone in the depths of the night, his focus was never on being genuine. Relationship. He taught us that sincerity turns the simplest actions into acts of worship. A kind word, a piece of bread shared. Relationship, even removing something harmful from the road when done sincerely, becomes an act of faith. Relationship. What makes sincerity so powerful is that it protects your deeds long after the moment has passed. People may forget what you did. They may overlook it. Relationship, they may even misinterpret it. But if it was for Allah, it is preserved forever. And even if no one acknowledges your effort in this world, kinship, know that Allah never lets sincerity go unrewarded. So as you strive to live better, pause before every action and ask yourself, relationship, who am I really doing this for? Am I doing it to be praised? Or am I doing it to seek Allah's pleasure? Kinship. That simple reflection could transform not only your worship, but your relationships, your work, your entire life. Kinship. One of the most defining qualities of the Prophet Muhammad was his compassion. The Quran describes him as a mercy to all the worlds. Relationship, not just to the believers, not just to his companions, but to all of humanity, to the animals, to the environment. His entire existence radiated mercy, kinship. And that wasn't accidental, it was central to his mission. Mercy was not something he showed occasionally, it was who he was at his core, kinship. Think about how rare that is. We live in a world where harshness often dominates. People are quick to criticize, quick to dismiss, quick to judge. Kinship, mercy on the other hand, requires a strength of the heart. It takes more effort to forgive than to hold a grudge. Kinship. More patience to listen than to condemn. More courage to be gentle than to be harsh. And yet this was the path of the Prophet. Relationship, his mercy was not theoretical. It was practical and visible in every aspect of his life. When the people of Taif rejected him, mocked him, kinship, and physically hurt him, he had every right to respond with anger. But when the angel gave him the option to destroy them, he refused. Instead, kinship. He prayed that Allah would guide them or their children. That is not weakness, that is greatness. Kinship. It is the ability to see beyond the immediate pain and recognize the potential for good in others. Even within his own household, he was gentle. Relationship, he mended his own clothes, helped with chores, played with children, and treated his family with dignity and affection. Kinship. In an age where power was often equated with dominance, he redefined power as service and kindness. Kinship. He showed that the strongest man is not the one who controls others, but the one who controls himself and treats others with compassion. Kinship. Psychologically, compassion is transformative. Studies today confirm what the Prophet demonstrated when you show mercy. Kinship, you not only uplift the other person, but you heal yourself. Acts of kindness release stress, strengthen relationships, and cultivate inner peace. Kinship. Anger and cruelty, on the other hand, may feel powerful in the moment, but they corrode the heart over time. Kinship. Mercy is not just for others, it's for your own soul. And notice something profound. Mercy is not limited to those who are kind to you. Relationship, it extends even to those who don't deserve it. The Prophet showed mercy to his enemies, to those who harmed him, to those who betrayed him. Why? Relationship, because his mercy was not a reflection of their character. It was a reflection of his. That is the secret. Relationship. You don't show compassion because others are worthy of it. You show compassion because it is who you are striving to become. Kinship. This lesson is desperately needed today. Families are broken because mercy has been replaced with ego. Kinship. Communities are divided because mercy has been overshadowed by judgment. And yet, every time you choose mercy, you are choosing to reflect the prophetic example. You are making the world a little softer, a little kinder, relationship a little closer to what it was meant to be. If there is one quality that carried the Prophet Muhammad through every trial, it was patience, kinship. His life was not free of hardship. In fact, if we truly study it, we see a life marked by loss, rejection, struggle, and immense sacrifice. Kinship. He buried his own children, faced the hostility of his people, endured hunger, and lived through years of persecution. Kinship. Yet he never allowed pain to consume him, nor did he let hardship break him. His patience was not passive resignation. It was active perseverance, kinship, a conscious choice to keep moving forward with dignity and trust in Allah. We often think of patience as simply waiting it out, but the Islamic concept of Rabir is much deeper. Relationship, it is holding firm when the heart wants to collapse. It is continuing to do what is right even when everything around you tempts you to give up. Kinship, it is the strength to endure without bitterness and the courage to remain steadfast without losing hope. That is what made the Prophet unstoppable. Relationship. Look at how he endured the years in Mecca when the Quraysh mocked him, when companions were tortured, when his mission seemed impossible. Relationship. Any ordinary person would have given up, but he persevered. He trusted that the seed he was planting would one day bear fruit. Relationship. Even if he would not live to see it fully. That is true patience. To act with faith, not because success is guaranteed, but because the effort itself is for Allah. From a psychological perspective, patience is a form of resilience. Relationship, it's what allows a human being to bend without breaking. Hardship is inevitable in life. No one escapes loss, illness, disappointment, or betrayal. Relationship. But those who cultivate patience find meaning within the pain. They don't see hardship as punishment, but as a process of growth. Relationship as training for the soul. And once you reframe hardship in this way, relationship, you no longer feel like a victim of life. You become an active participant in your own transformation. Patience also teaches humility. Relationship. It reminds us that we are not in full control, that there are seasons in life we cannot rush. Relationship. Just as you cannot force a seed to grow faster by pulling on it, you cannot force your trials to end before their time. Everything unfolds according to Allah's wisdom. And when you surrender to that reality, you find peace even in difficulty. The Prophet did not only preach patience, he lived it. When he lost his son Ibrahim, his eyes shed tears, but his heart remained firm. He said, the eyes shed tears and the heart grieves. But we only say that which pleases our Lord. That is the balance. Acknowledging pain, relationship, but never letting it push you into despair or anger with Allah. Relationship. And this is where patience transforms from being just a coping mechanism into a form of worship. Relationship. Every moment of endurance for the sake of Allah is recorded. Every tear held back, every temptation resisted. Relationship. Every insult endured with dignity. It all elevates you. So the next time hardship knocks on your door, remember the example of the Prophet Don't ask, why me? Ask instead, what can I learn? And how can I grow closer to Allah through this? One of the greatest gifts of the Prophet Muhammad to humanity is that he showed us balance. He taught us that Islam is a path of moderation, not a life of extremes, not a path of deprivation, and not a pursuit of unchecked indulgence. It is a way that nourishes both the body and the soul, both the rights of Allah and the rights of people. That balance is what makes this faith not only sustainable but deeply fulfilling. Too often people swing to extremes. Relationship. Some become so consumed by the dunya that they neglect their spiritual life. Others become so rigid in religious practice that they forget compassion, mercy, and practicality. But the Prophet reminded us that true faith is not about abandoning this world, nor is it about being enslaved to it. It is about living here responsibly, preparing for the hereafter while still fulfilling the duties of this life. Consider his life. He prayed long into the night, yet he also rested. He fasted often, but not every single day. He gave generously in charity. Relationship. Yet he allowed himself moments of enjoyment with family and companions. He taught us that even the smile you share with someone is an act of worship. That is balance, where every part of your life, whether worldly or spiritual, contributes to your growth and your closeness to Allah. Philosophically, relationship balance is the antidote to burnout. When you live in extremes, you eventually collapse. If you obsess over wealth, you will never be satisfied. If you isolate yourself from the world in the name of spirituality, you will fail to fulfill your responsibilities to people. Relationship. The middle path is what preserves harmony in your life. And this is why the Prophet warned against excessiveness in religion. He knew that if people push themselves beyond what is sustainable, they will eventually abandon faith altogether. Even psychologically, relationship moderation is freedom. When you live in balance, you are not enslaved to desire, but neither are you crushed by guilt. You recognize that every part of you has rights. Your soul has a right, your body has a right, your family has a right, your community has a right. Fulfilling these rights in proportion is what creates wholeness. Neglecting one for the other is what creates emptiness. Relationship. The companions once came to the Prophet and some of them declared extreme commitments. One said he would never marry. Relationship. Another said he would fast every day without break. Another said he would pray all night without rest. The Prophet stopped them and said, relationship. I pray and I sleep, I fast and I break my fast, and I marry women. Whoever turns away from my way is not from me. That is balance. Relationship. It teaches us that spirituality should enhance life, not suffocate it. If we want to live better, we must reclaim this balance. Work hard, relationship, but don't let work consume you. Worship with dedication, but don't forget kindness to those around you. Seek halal enjoyment, relationship, but don't let it distract you from the greater purpose. Relationship. Life is not about choosing dunya or akhirah. It is about walking a path where both lead you back to Allah.